Okay, raise your hand if you've ever gone to a holiday party with a dessert and you left with the dish barely touched. Guilty here. It's happened to everybody. But that ends today because I'm going to share with you my favorite oatmeal cookie recipe. And this is the one that I get the most requests for. I'm finally getting around to making the video. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with a half a cup of softened butter. I'm just using a stick that's been sitting out on the stove top for the morning and just want to soften it out just a little bit. And to that, I'm going to add a cup of sugar. Now you can use any combination that you like, but you want a combination of brown sugar and white sugar. I prefer the taste of the brown sugar, so I'm going to use 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, 2 and 3, and I'm going to use 1/4 cup of granulated white sugar. To that, I'm also going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. And then I'm also going to add a half teaspoon of salt. That was a little bit heavy there. I'm going to blend this up. So that's blended decently well. Then I'm going to add our egg. And then I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. This is some very special vanilla that my daughter made for me. She does this for me every year for Christmas, and it's a good thing that we're so close to Christmas because it's almost gone. But it is really delicious and very rich. So we're going to blend all that. You definitely can use just regular store-bought vanilla. You don't need anything super special. You also could blend this in a stand mixer if you happen to have that. I do, and I normally use it for a lot of my baking recipes, but this cookie recipe is so easy and so forgiving that I usually don't mess it up for this, and I just make it by hand. Then I'm going to move to a bigger bowl, and in this bowl I'm going to add in 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of old-fashioned oats. I'm going to blend that together easily, just real quickly. And then I'm going to dump in my wet ingredients. You also could make this recipe very easily. You could double it if you want a really big batch. I tend to try to make them smaller because we eat too many and we don't have enough people here to consume them all without consuming too many myself. So I would rather make more batches more often than to have too many sitting around that are going to tempt me. Once you see that all the oats and the flour are incorporated into the wet mixture, then it is ready to cook. You can set these aside in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes if you want to make really precisely shaped cookies. I'm not necessarily in the mood to wait for 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and make part of these now, and then I'm going to put the remainder of the dough in a container so that I can have fresh cookies maybe tomorrow or another day this week. So I'm going to start with a tablespoon size amount of dough, and I'm going to place this onto a sheet of parchment paper. I am going to use my air fryer in the toaster oven mode to bake these because that's a very efficient way to do it, but you definitely could use a whole cookie sheet and do these in the oven. And then I'm going to semi-flatten them just a little bit, and then transfer those to a 350-degree oven for 7 to 10 minutes. So now I have cookie dough for later in the week when we want something sweet. So there you have it, easy, from scratch recipe. And I promise when you leave that next function that you're taking a plate of cookies to, you're going to end up coming home with an empty plate. Hope that blesses you. If you're looking for the full recipe, you can find it in my cooking community on the school platform that's called the Savvy Saver Collective, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below.